Afternoon, guys. Russ from Willie's Firewood here. I get a lot of comments whenever we have breakdowns with the Allwood here that it seems like we have a lot of trouble with it, or that there's always issues. I guess I want to explain a few things, and we'll go over some things that I like and I don't like about the machine, and we'll kind of walk through it. But overall, I just want to start out by saying that this machine has done everything that I've wanted it to do, with no exception, but there are some things that I would change. So let's go over it. Okay, one of the things, or one of my biggest gripes about the machine is right here. It's the valve setup. And I'm gonna bring you back a little bit. If you look at the valve setup, you have to be standing on that side of the machine to operate the valves. I know with the Easton made and the Wolfridge, the valves are centered. You can see that this one's built on a post and it's got an offset platform. That offset platform kind of kicks it to the operator. When you're standing there, standing height wise, everything's reachable, pretty easy, no issue. But I wish that it was more in the center over here so that you could operate it from both sides of the machine. So that's my biggest gripe with the valves. Other than that, at the time I purchased this, because of the flow, the manufacturer of this machine said that they couldn't get an auto cycle valve big enough. An auto cycle valve would definitely speed things up working alone, and making that transition from split to split much smoother. With this, it's a locked detent out, a locked detent in, so you've got to man the controls if you want to get any kind of production out of it. The fan, I wish, was thermostatically controlled. It does a very good job of cooling the machine when it's running correctly, but it's located on a toggle switch on the battery box, and that toggle switch turns it on and off. Very simple. I could put a thermostatic valve in one of the hydraulic lines and it would take over and run and do what it needed to do, no problem. But that's another thing that I would change. But again, guys, this is perfect world scenario. I can find fault with just about any machine out there, and all the machines that I've looked at. At the time that I purchased this in 2020, everybody was about a year out. This was available right now. So I wish the table was a little bit longer, but it does a perfectly fine job of doing what it does. The wedge change is a little more involved on this machine than some of the others, but it's not overly complicated. One wrench in about 3 minutes and you're all set. And honestly, if you're swapping wedges back and forth that much, maybe you want to look at your firewood process a little bit. We seem to do pretty well with just a 4-way. I don't like the 6-way. I just think it generates more waste than is needed. Down here, I really like the aluminum fuel tank. That's been really good. Haven't had any issues with that. The aluminum fuel tank works well. We had issues with the hydraulic cooler, and I still think it was a faulty cooler from the factory. This one's been on for about 150 hours worth of use right now at this point, and have had no issues with it. Hydraulic tank. This is just an open hydraulic tank. I wish it had some baffles in it. If it had some baffles so that the material flowed around a little different in there, I think it would help to eliminate the need for the cooler. But it's got a big hydraulic reservoir. It does a good job of maintaining temperature with the cooler running. No issue there. Honda engine is bulletproof. No issues with that. The pumps, I've got to look at the main pump on this. It's either the main pump or the control block up top, but it's not shifting down into the second stage of the pump like it should. I've got to put a gauge in. But again, that's not to say that this machine isn't built right. I've put probably close to 2,000 cord of wood through this machine since we bought it in 2020. A couple of those years I didn't do much firewood. I was actually working with another earthwork and landscape company and had shifted my focus away from firewood. So we weren't doing as much of that. I really like the oversized push block. No grease fittings, no wear items. This is all 404 Nice hard steel, don't have to worry about any consumable items there, so that makes it really nice. It's built on a torsion axle, tows down the road excellent, 75-80 miles an hour. You don't even know that the thing's behind you. And we're gonna put that to the test in theory because we're headed to Pennsylvania in a couple of weeks. The log lift arm is open here in the center. It needs to be closed. I know if you guys have watched our videos, you'll see the 16-inch rounds will sometimes fall through there and fall onto the ground. And I'm gonna put some sort of expanded metal or something on the top just to keep things from sliding around so much. But again, minor things and things that can be picked out and, you know, made different with anybody else's machine. The bolts, I wish that these bolts here were countersunk. The wood will catch this every once in a while and it will flip up towards the wedge. But again, not a terribly big deal. I could put some stove bolts or something in there to eliminate that. Hasn't been a terribly huge issue. But other than that, I mean, I really can't gripe for the performance the machine's given me. And again, at the time that I purchased, this was what was available, unless I wanted to wait a year. And I didn't have a year to wait, so I'm happy with it overall. I don't care what you have for a machine, what brand it is, how new it is, how old it is. With the environment that these machines are made to operate in, things are gonna break. They're gonna go wrong. It's gonna happen. It's part of the game. The biggest thing with this is, can you get parts, and are the parts available? And for this, I haven't had any issue. The cooler was on back order for a little while. Once I found out the actual manufacturer of the cooler and not the distributor that it went through, they had them on the shelf. It's not a big deal. And looking back, you can put a one size up cooler on this from what's on it for about $250 less. And it has 30 horsepower more cooling capacity. So if we ever had another issue again, we'll put the bigger cooler on it. But like I said, I got 150 hours on this cooler. No sign or indication of any failure or anything like that. So, you know, don't for one second think that because we say that this is broke on a video, that we're unhappy with it or it's a lemon. This has put in a serious amount of work. You guys see us pump anywhere from 10 to 20 cords a week through this thing every single week. And it doesn't stop. I mean, we've done splitting that was on other customers' sites for other customers that we never brought any of the wood home. Just bring it over and split for 8-10 hours straight ahead. The machine does what it's supposed to do, and I'm very happy with it. But with all the good and all the bad and all the negative, I am looking to make a change in the firewood yard. I'm going to stay with a horizontal splitter of some kind. I'm not going to switch to a vertical splitter. We do too much wood for a vertical splitter. But I'm looking at some other options. I'm looking at some other splitters. I'm looking at Allwood again too. Allwood actually makes a version of what I'm looking at that I think is more than compatible and more than competitive with what we're looking to do. So we've got that for an option as well. There's probably 4 manufacturers in the splitter market that are worth looking into for what I do and for what I want. And you know, you've got Wolfridge, Easton Made, Allwood, and Built Right makes a pretty good machine. I haven't seen a lot of them, but I was impressed with what I saw at the forestry show, and they've got some customizable options that I think could make it work. But I think for, you know, general purposes, you've got the big 3. You've got Easton Made, Wolfridge, Allwood. Most people don't think about Allwood because they haven't heard about them. This machine is built like a tank, and I wouldn't be scared to put it up against the comparable machine to this size. But there's some diesel options out that are faster, and as we continue to grow, if I'm going to stay on a part-time basis with my firewood, I need that speed to increase. When we get the bigger firewood into the yard, something like this piece right here, if I could send that through an 8-way wedge or through a box wedge and eliminate a lot of the re-splitting that you see us do in the videos, I think that would very much be worth it, and that's kind of where I'm looking. I'm looking at something that'll either shove a 12-way wedge or a box wedge at a high enough rate of speed that we're not going to miss any production, and we're actually going to pick up some output. Because with the business growing the way that it's going, I'd like to be in the 15 to 20 cord every single week range, and I'd like to do it in less time. If we had a machine that you could load and operate from the same side, that would help to speed things up too, because Kevin and I could both feed a machine and go that way. I don't think the Allwood will go away. I think you may see a time very soon that you see 2 splitters feeding into this and making it work. So when you look at that option, if we picked up another splitter, you're looking at, you know, neighborhood of 2 to 4 cord an hour now. And if we can separate and segregate our size a little bit, I'm really going to push to do things a little bit different. We've got some big changes hopefully coming up that will drive us in a little bit different direction for our firewood. So that's why I'm looking at another splitter option. I'd love to stay with Allwood, but if somebody out there gives me a reason to go look at another company or to go do something different than what we have right now, I'm all ears. I'm not brand specific. I'm not locked into a contract with anybody. I'm not tied to anything. What I want is what works. So I hope this video kind of quells some of the questions or qualms that people have about the Allwood and whether or not it's reliable and dependable. The Allwood is a very, very dependable machine. We've got just shy of 1,200 hours. It's 1,160 some hours on the machine. If you figure 1.5 to 2 cord an hour, this machine has split a lot of wood. And I would expect that things are going to break in that amount of time. Stuff's going to break, guys. That's why they don't offer lifetime warranties with this stuff. You're using tons and tons of force to take wood and push it through steel to get it onto a conveyor and onto a truck. And these knots and this wood are not the nicest of things to be shoving together. Something's got to give somewhere. 99.9% of the time it's the wood. The other 0.01% of the time it's steel or a valve or a cylinder or something. And that's to be expected. If you buy something like this and you think that it's never going to break, you're going to be really, really sorry when you get one, because they're going to break, guys. It's just the name of the game. I used to get so wrapped up in things breaking and let it bother me so much when I first started my business and stuff. And I had such a hard time with it. You know, I'd be like, oh, that's great. It's all over. We're done. I don't know why I do this. Breaks now. I just shrug my shoulders. Let's fix it. Because at the end of the day, I like what I do. Stuff's gonna break, it's okay. And I think that's part of growing up, I guess. I'm gonna be 40 years old in a couple of months. I'm learning patience. I'm learning to roll with the punches a little bit as we go. It's just the name of the game with what we do, guys. Same thing with chainsaws. Everybody fights over brand and what type and why. They're all great when they run. They all suck when they don't. You know, but again, looking to do something different in the wood yard. Could be another Allwood product. Could be Easton made. Could be Wolfridge. Could be built right. I don't know. But again, if somebody gave me a reason to do something different or said, hey, you really need to check this out because I'm game. I've seen some of the diesel splitters from some of the other competition out there, and I gotta say, pretty impressive, some of them. So we're looking forward to what the wood yard brings, but I just wanted to do a quick video, let you guys know the Allwood is not a lemon. We're not disappointed in it. It's a very well built, very rugged machine. It sits taller than everybody else's machines too. I'm a tall guy. I don't want to be bent over splitting firewood all day. When I walk by the other machines, they sit lower than this Allwood does, and that's one of the things that I found to be a hindrance looking at the other machines. I don't want to be bent over. So that's it, guys. I mean, there's no real right or wrong answer. It's whatever works for you. We've made this work well for us. So if you like this stuff, give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, comment below. If you've got a reason why I should be using a different manufacturer, or a reason why I should be using a certain model, or something that you think would really be worth it, let me know. I'm all ears, guys. I'm not tied to anything. And at the end of the day, I want what's most productive for the woodyard. So appreciate you listening to me rant and ramble for a little bit, but it's something that's kind of been said a bunch of times, so I just wanted to come and clear the air and let everybody know we're perfectly happy with the Allwood. No issues here at all. Bobby from Allwood that builds the splitters is great to deal with. No issues with him. If I call and have an issue, he walks me through it. He'll work me through it. He builds a nice machine. I mean, for a small shop, I could not ask for a better machine than this right here. He doesn't have the great big shops and the engineering and all the other stuff that these other guys do. So this is pretty impressive considering what he's got for a setup. So have a good day, guys, and I appreciate you stopping by to listen to me yak for a little bit.